Welcome to another episode of the West Michigan Minute Podcast. It's not a minute long, but it is a podcast. My name is Kyle Geenen. I'm your host, and this is a unique episode. I'm doing it by myself. Typically, I would have a guest with me here, but today we're going to be talking about kind of my journey in real estate, my early years of life, as well as what got me into real estate and just kind of what has led to our team's success as well. So this is just you and me. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Kyle Geenen, the Kyle Geenen Group. First things first, I don't know if you listening know who I am or not, but I'm born and raised in Holland, Michigan, which is also where our real estate team here is based. In fact, I'm sitting in our office downtown Holland on the corner of River and 9th. We'll get into this and how we got here at some point, but a little bit of a story about me. So grew up in a family with loving parents. They moved here when they were young kids, lived in Kalamazoo for a period of time, but then moved here to Holland. And my father started a construction company, and that construction company is still going on today. So grew up kind of in a family of entrepreneurs, if you will. Even my grandfather, actually, serial entrepreneur, started all different kinds of things. He had a funeral home business. He had a bakery at one point in time. I don't know if they were the most successful businesses, but he was really great at coming up with an idea and running with it. And the final one that he came up with was a construction company, and him and my dad ended up taking that idea and running with it, and then even bringing on partners as well in that as well. Growing up here in Holland, went to Holland Christian schools as a kid, and for me, that was very formative, having parents that were really strong believers, as well as a school system that instilled in me those values. And that is still a big part of my business today, is my faith. But I also, had a lot of freedom. My parents gave me the opportunity to try pretty much anything that I wanted. I was a pretty nerdy kid. I've always been really big into technology, computers, that sort of a thing. And early on, I was given the ability to build my own computer, that kind of thing. Always thought I was going to be a pilot. And so even at one point in time, I worked at Tulip City Airport cleaning planes for some of the big companies that are in town. And then in turn, I got discounted lessons on flying and ended up going through the whole process to get my private pilot's license. I've not flown recently at all. I would love to fly, but now I have 4 kids, and I don't know if that's the best idea. So I haven't been doing that, but loved creativity, music, all that different stuff. I was not a sports person. I always joke that I'm terrible at anything that involves a ball: golf, tennis, soccer, you name it, terrible at it. So for me, I was more water sports, skiing, activity. I loved doing things. Wakeboarding, all that stuff was stuff I really enjoyed doing. For me, the formative stuff was, seeing my parents running a business. That was something I'm like, someday maybe I could do that. Or maybe I could work in the business. Maybe I could create my own business. But my family definitely played a big role in shaping me. I wasn't one of those kids that thought, oh, I'm going to be a realtor someday. In fact, that was probably the furthest thing from my mind when I was a kid. I was like probably a lot of you who thought realtors are like used car salesmen. And, I just didn't want to do anything sales related. I just didn't think that was for me. But looking back now, there were signs. I love working with people. I love solving problems. I have always loved being creative. I tell a lot of people I have ADHD, and I think of that kind of as my superpower. So my ADHD has given me it's allowed me to kind of use my creative juices and try new things. So as a kid, I always was doing creative stuff. When I went to school for my undergrad, I thought I'm going to be a CPA so that I could go the business route. Went to school for that. And also while I was at school, did like marketing stuff and really used my creativity in different ways. And so when I left school, I worked in accounting for a few years. I thought by doing that, I could, have the business acumen to work in a business or run a business. Turns out I'm really terrible at accounting and taxes. And so I ended up getting out of that and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And for me, it was a little bit of discovery, but somebody encouraged me at that time, in that juncture of what do I want to do with my life. Maybe you should look at something where you can use your gifts. And I think it was my father. My father was very encouraging of me and still is to this day, as far as, use your gifts and do what you're best, do what you are best at to bless others. And so, um, I've always been into photography. I've always been into drones and all different kinds of stuff. And so for me, it was like, in West Michigan in 2012, when I was thinking about this, nobody was really using like video, drones, that kind of a thing. It wasn't like this high end stuff like we're doing today here. And so I'm like, maybe I could use my gifts of photography and take some really good listing photos for houses. And maybe I could do some video stuff as well and social media stuff. So that's really what kind of piqued my interest. And so initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to be a realtor or if I was going to be the guy filming stuff, but I ended up getting into real estate at the recommendation of Jack Bauman, who is no longer with us, but was the king of real estate in West Michigan. Jack ran Coldwell Banker, and I had lunch with him one day, and we just chatted, and he said, "Yeah, I think you'd be a really great real estate agent." So that's kind of what led me into thinking about it. But I still was just kind of unsure. At that time, I had recently gotten married. We also found out we were going to have our first child. And then I'm thinking of starting a new career. It was like this crazy moment of my life. By knowing that I had a child on the way, it was like, all right, I got to make sure I get this figured out, and I got to make sure I'm successful at whatever I do. So I jumped into real estate at like 100 miles an hour. I still remember I didn't have a single listing. I didn't have any buyers I was working with. So what I did was I jumped right into hosting open houses. And I was like, I'm going to host like 5 open houses every weekend for anybody that's willing to let me host an open house for them. So by being a Coldwell Banker, biggest brokerage in our area, I had a lot of opportunities. But I had to beg people too. I had to be like, can you please, please, please let me host an open house for you? So I did. I just, every weekend, even weekdays, I was hosting open houses, 5, 6, 7 a week. And goal was just to meet people. A lot of people get in real estate and they're like tapping their friends and family and saying, "Hey, please use me." I kind of wanted to earn my own way and not do that. So actually the first year I said, I'm not going to reach out to my sphere, which is the opposite of what they tell you to do when you get into real estate. They always say, use your sphere, get into it right away, which is a good thing to do, by the way. But I want to earn that privilege before I just ask people for business. So, so I really just started diving in and hosting all these different things. Again, had a child right away. Our son Graham, who's now 12. And, for me, it was just like, all right, this is my North Star. I got to provide for my family. I got to make a difference. I got to make an impact. I really did enjoy being my own boss. And to this day, I'm so blessed. I'm so thankful that I got into real estate because I love nothing more than leading this group of people that we have here. And for me, this is just a huge blessing. Before real estate, I did have some really nice jobs, but I've learned that real estate is truly like, I think this is God's calling for me in my life. This is what I love doing. It's not for the faint of heart. I will say that real estate can be a grind. There's high highs and low lows. I post on social media all the really fun stuff, but you don't get to see all the stuff behind the curtain. The amount of stress that real estate can be, the amount of like, I don't think people realize that we're truly like therapists for everybody. When you're in a real estate deal, things can get really stressful. These are big numbers we're talking about, right? A lot of finances, a lot of borrowing money, and that can be scary for people. And also too, like it's emotional in that a home is something you have to be really excited about. It's not just the number of bedrooms and baths. Is it the neighborhood you love? Is it the area you want to be in? Is it the, quality of home you're looking for? So there's so many different things that go into real estate. I think a lot of people underestimate just how stressful it can be. So you do have to have some really thick skin, but it also can be really fulfilling too. When you see that person and they're just like beaming ear to ear because they just closed on the home of their dreams. And, this is something that they're going to be in for a long time with their family. There's nothing better than that. Right. And so very fulfilling work. One thing that has made our team be really successful, to toot our own horn. I mean, we definitely have had our journey to get here, but in the last 2 years, we've been one of the top teams, if not the top team in West Michigan. And, that's not an easy feat. I thought when I got into it, I'm like, oh man, you see some of these big name realtors in the area and you're like, I want to be like that. A, it's not easy at all. And B, it's not easy to do it with integrity. I think a lot of things in life, there can be a cheat code, if you will, that doesn't necessarily mean long-term success. And I think the good realtors in our area that are well respected, they've had to work really hard for that, because to get a deal done, you have to do it in the most ethical way, and you have to do it in a way where people just truly trust you, and you can't cut corners. And I know in any industry, people do cut corners, right? And they try to do things the easy way, and then you lose your integrity in that. And so for me, that's always been a prime priority of mine too. Is like, how do we build a business that's built on faith, that's built on integrity and trust and all that. So I'm very proud of, the team that we built. I say we because I have an amazing group of people that are not in the room with me right now, that are working alongside me every day, and I love doing that with them. Some realtors, they work on their own; they're just by themselves, and they handle everything. Being ADHD, I've learned I need people working alongside me. I need people that have the ability to do things that I'm not good at. So I've learned what my strengths are, and I focused on that. And then I brought people in that have really good strengths in the areas that I'm not really good at. And we work amazing as a team. The group we have is like ninjas. We're like a SWAT team. We're just so dialed in, and I love that. Also true is that you need to have like-minded people. You need to have people that have the same values working alongside you. I'd say it's like my second iteration of a real estate team. I tried a real estate team years ago without having it all thought out ahead of time. And the great people that I was working with, but I didn't have like a good plan. And so I learned kind of the hard way. I need to have like an actual plan and purpose and vision, and be intentional about what we're doing. And now that the team that we have, that is exactly what we are. And I think that's why we have found the success that we have, is that people see through what we're doing day in and day out that we're hard workers. Actually, the reason I have this conference room here on this busy corner, it kind of feels like a fishbowl, if you will. The reason I have it here is because I want people to see us working day in and day out. And I want people to see truly that we are here grinding and doing what we need to do to help our clients and make things happen. It's just counter to what I think a lot of people think about realtors. There's some realtors maybe that don't work hard, but there's a lot of realtors that do work hard, and I want to show people that's who we are. And then I also, built this office kind of the way we did because I wanted it to be a place that felt home and cozy and whatnot. And so if you ever want to come in here, take a look at our office. It's an awesome place just to meet with people, to make deals happen. So I'm really proud of the business that we built and the team that we have and everything else. One of my notes here is the future of real estate. So I think a lot of people, myself included, are kind of like, where is real estate headed, right? You've got Zillow, you've got all these different tools out online now. You've got data at your fingertips. Not all of it's accurate, and not all of it is, a lot of it is, artificial intelligence driven, and artificial intelligence is only so good at figuring out different data points and things. And so by no means do I feel like as realtors, especially the top of the top, I think the top 5% of us are always going to be doing what we do. I could see certain elements of real estate being automated. I could see certain parts of the transaction being simplified, but I also think that when it comes to buying a home and just how big of a decision that is, and how many different complexities there are, like buying a home on Lake Macatawa versus buying a home on acreage out in the country versus buying a condo in a high-rise building. There's so many different complexities that go into all of those, and they're all very different. I don't think a computer can fully do all that. So I think AI will have a future in real estate, but I don't think that it's going to replace realtors. As realtors, those of us that utilize it and implement it in an effective way are going to really excel and do really, really well. So if you're not using AI in real estate, and if you don't know how to do that, feel free to reach out to me and I'll show you what we're doing. And, you got to be careful. You still got to do the work yourself, and you got to make sure that people are getting real advice. But I think there's tools you can use to help your business. And I think too that, as far as marketing and like getting like people aware of a property, there's so many different ways you can do it or just not do it at all. And so, video, this is the reason why we're filming this video today. Video has been and is going to be the future. Everybody is absorbing content at a crazy pace. YouTube, look at how fast that's grown. And so for us, it's going to be continuing to do what we do best, which is, get video marketing done. I think you're going to see more off-market type stuff happening. We actually have a list of homes that we know of that would be interested in selling, that are, like called off-market opportunities. I think you're going to see more and more of that growing. People want their privacy. They don't want everybody to know they're going to be selling their home. They don't want everyone in their business, especially in a small town like Holland, Michigan. And so I think you're going to continue to see that grow. By the way, if you have questions on that, reach out to me. Off-market listings is an insane opportunity. Last year, we sold, I think, 20 homes off-market, one of which was the highest sale ever in our entire region. And I think there's a ton of opportunities there. But I also think there's ways to market a home on the market and be really successful at that too. Instagram is a huge tool, a great resource. So many people use it. YouTube, same thing. But there's also, old school methods. Billboards. I don't know if you guys have noticed. We have billboards up. We're going to keep doing billboards because, there's just different ways to get attention. I think Gary Vee says that we live in the attention economy, and I believe that to be fully true. Closing. I've rambled now for I don't know how long time, but that is kind of the long story short of my career and how it started and where it is today. We got some cool stuff on the horizon. I'm really excited to see the Kyle Geenen Group as a real estate company and where we're headed. I've got really good things we're working on. We're going to continue to grow what we're already doing. We've got some other new things we're working on as well. And so you're going to see some more stuff coming out. If you're thinking about real estate, you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. You can call me, text me. All of my information's online. I have no privacy whatsoever. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. And I just appreciate you guys spending time with me here on the West Michigan Minute. Feel free to subscribe, whatever channel you're on, whether it be iTunes, Spotify. We have this on YouTube, all different places. Would love to have you guys subscribe to our podcast. And if you found value in this, feel free to leave us a review as well. That's super important too. So I'm Kyle Geenen. This is the West Michigan Minute. Thanks for joining us.